Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So this video here is a bit of a review and demonstration on the new SATAjet Aviator. So basically the Aviator is just a new design that's on the gun. The gun itself is just a SATAjet 5000B RP. I've got it in a 1.2, I don't know, 1.2. That's what it says on the side of the gun. Don't know if that's millimeters or what, but we'll go through that a little bit later. Let's get into the box. So as you can see, it's a pretty sexy looking gun. It's got the 1960s sort of style aircraft hostess type thing on there. And yeah, really nice blues on it as well. So I'd have to say it's one of the best designs I've ever seen on a SATAjet. They have done a few other special limited edition guns, but this one really did take my eye. So you may have also noticed that I got the digital version as well. So it's got the digital manometer on the handle of the gun. I do recommend getting the digital version because if you don't, then you'll probably be regretting it later on. You know, you'll just be kicking yourself, oh, why didn't I spend that extra $100 or so on it to get the digital version. So one feature that these guns have, which I actually find more of a hindrance than a help, is the swivel on the bottom of the air fitting. Right down the bottom where you plug your air fitting in, it's got a swivel on it. Now, most air lines or air fittings themselves that you actually plug the gun into will be able to swivel itself anyway. So having that extra swivel there, it makes it so that it's really not easy to actually get a cheater valve or a regulator down onto the bottom of that gun. So it's another reason I actually do recommend getting the digital version. I mean, you could go and get yourself a hose clamp and stop that from spinning around, and then you'd be able to get your cheater valve down on the bottom of it. But when you're buying a gun that looks that good, you really don't want dirty hose clamps sitting on the bottom of it, really, do you? So yep, go get the digital version if you are to get one of these guns. I'll go through the settings for you guys quickly also. So I've used this for a week. I think I may have mentioned it just before, and I've just about got the thing dialed in. This thing really does pump a lot of fluid out. So I've found 2 turns out is all you really need for clear coat, full fan, and 2 bar pressure. I can go down as low as 1.4 and still spray okay. But yeah, I've found that 2 bar pressure, it allows you to move that a little bit faster and a little bit less orange peel. You're going to get less material on there, so you're going to get a bit of a finer orange peel on it. Another feature of the SATAjets is the fan control knob, and that's right on the side of the gun. That's the one where you see my thumb. It's just above my thumb. Now, as I'm painting, I find you can see my fingers actually just moving around, and it sort of wants to play around with that fan control knob. So I really don't recommend winding it back in at all. On the DeVilbiss, which I commonly used for clear coats and base coats, it's actually on the back of the gun. It's at the place where the pressure adjustment knob is on the SATAjet. So once you set that fan on the DeVilbiss, you will not be playing with it. There is no way you could actually go and change that when you're painting. I had an apprentice of mine, Moses, who you guys will probably most likely be familiar with. He said, I use the SATA, I don't like them because when I was at trade school I used it, and I accidentally changed the fan setting while I was painting, and it stuffed him up. It made him get runs. For you, it may be like, oh, that's just a rookie error, you know, but these things matter, and I believe that when doing a review, I've got to cover these kinds of things. I've also got to cover the negatives and the positives. Look, the truth is, I've actually got more to lose by pointing out some of these flaws in the SATAjets than what I have to gain. I know there's actually quite a few YouTube channels out there, especially in this industry, who just go out there and tell you that this is the best. They won't point out any negatives on a product. They get something for free, or they get some sort of endorsements from the companies that send them the products, and they just sell their soul basically. That's not me. I don't care if they never send me another SATA thing again. I'd rather stay true to myself and my viewers than sell out for the sake of a free spray gun or whatever it may be. They do have some awesome products, and that's not to say that the SATAjet itself isn't great. I do find they put a little bit more fluid on than the competition though. So this is a 1.2, as I said at the start, and it sprays like a 1.35 or a 1.4, which is, look, honestly, more than what is even necessary for the jobs that I'm painting. Some people just say, oh, well, just turn the fluid in then, mate. You know, don't be a pussy. And I'm like, well, I could turn the fluid in on my 1.8mm primer gun too if I wanted. I could get good finishes with it, but sometimes less is better, especially in this industry. When we're not looking at making every car look like a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW. They do have a very thick orange peel. And look, at the end of the day, it's a German-made spray gun. It's only really going to make sense that they replicate the German finishes. it's going to be harder to get those Japanese finishes. If one of those Mazdas comes in with those very fine orange peels on it, there's no way I would be grabbing this gun. I've got no doubt that I would be able to, especially after a little bit more time with the gun, replicate those finishes. It's not that I won't be able to. It's just going to be a lot easier to get with even a 1.2 T110 on my GTI Pro Lite. Lots of you guys will remember when I got my first SATAjet 5000 BRP. I got it in a 1.3, expecting it was going to be a 1.3. I found out later on through one of my followers, I would believe it was through Instagram, I really can't remember now though. They said, you know that that actually measures to a 1.47. So that's nearly a 1.5 mil. I would never buy a 1.5 mil to spray clear or base coat with. Maybe primers, yes, but I would never actually have bought that gun for clear coat had I have known the true size of it. I've got no idea why they do it. I can't see they have anything to gain. Now if you look at the back of the box, which I'll be showing you in a couple of minutes, it clearly says nozzle 1.2. It doesn't say millimeter. Now if they're saying that this doesn't refer to millimeters, what does it refer to then? The industry standard is to measure in millimeters. Now if it was a 1.2 mil and it came out as a 1.25 or something like that, like a bit of a small difference, I'd be like, it's close, you know. But it is big. Like, have a look at this. You may not be able to see in the video footage. That's next to the Nebula. Which one is bigger? So the 1.2 is actually larger than the 1.3 in the DeVilbiss. When I go onto a retailer's website and go and try to buy one of these, it says in black and white 1.2 millimeters, 1.3, 1.4 millimeters, and so on. I can't get anything smaller than a 1.2. And as you can see there, the 1.2 is still larger than a 1.3. So I actually kind of really can't even get the gun that I want in a SATA. One of the actual best responses I had, well, it did turn out to be inaccurate, but one of the best replies I got was, it doesn't actually stand for millimeters. And I thought, well, it can't, can it? Because it's obviously that it's not right. They said it's a 1,2 instead of a 1.2, and that they were gun identifiers and didn't actually stand for the size of the tip. It ended up not being true, because when you look at the back of the box, when it's written in German, it says 1,2 nozzle, and then when it's written in English, it says 1.2. So you can see I've circled the part where it's in English. If you look directly above that, it's in German and it says 1,2. So the only real conclusion that would lead you to coming up with is that in German, they don't use a decimal point, they use a comma instead. There is obviously a lot of confusion around this topic. I'm yet to get a solid answer to make me say, okay, I was wrong, you're right. I still don't fully understand why they've done it. The only thing I can think of that the reason they would have done it is that when you get your new SATA, they want you to be like, wow, that thing really pumps it on, you know. But from my experience, as I was saying before, sometimes less is better. They are a great gun, don't get me wrong, but as I said, the first time I bought one, especially after realizing that the fluid tip setup wasn't what I purchased and what I thought I was purchasing, you've got every right to be pissed off at that. I mean, this is the most expensive gun on the market. You can't get a more expensive gun than SATAJet's. I've actually noticed that the pressure adjustment valve on my SATA compared to my DeVilbiss is a little bit stiffer and harder to get the exact setting that I like. So it'll go from 2.2 bar to 1.4 bar, and it's a little bit stiff to actually get the exact 1.9 or 2 bar, 1.7, whatever it be. It's a little bit harder to get on this gun as well. So yep, I have pointed out a lot of negative things about this gun. I don't mean to offend anybody, SATA included. It is an amazing gun. The SATA air-fed respirator that I use every single day is totally awesome, and I haven't got a bad thing to say about it. SATA do make some of the best products on the market, but I am left a little perplexed as to why they have done that with their fluid tip sizes. If you went and bought yourself a car and it was advertised as a 3-litre turbo diesel, then when you end up getting in it, after you've paid it for it and everything, it gets delivered to your house, and you find out it's a 4.7-litre supercharged petrol engine, you'd be pretty pissed off, wouldn't you? You know, the main reason I got this gun was because I had wind of some people supposedly going around calling me a DeVilbiss commercial, so I just wanted to prove them wrong. I wanted to say, hey, you know what? I like SATAs as well, and I do love this gun. It's an amazing gun, it really is. I don't think I'm going to be using it on absolutely every job, I'm still in early days because I've only been using it for 1 week. As I mentioned before, we'll see how it stands the test of time and see if I do end up going back to my DeVilbiss. I was talking to this other painter that I work with. He's probably about 55 years old, so he's been in the industry for quite some time, and he said, look, I don't like the SATAjets. I find that they just go through too much material and they're just not his cup of tea. He runs these 2 Iwata Supernovas, totally loves them. He said, I think that the SATAs just go through a little bit too much fluid. So I thought, oh, this will be a good test to do. I did a job, it was a Commodore, and I did 2 guards or 2 fenders and a hood or a bonnet. And I used the SATA for one side, I used my Pro Lite for the other side. They went through exactly the same amount of paint. I was able to get exactly the same finish out of 2 different guns. So at the end of the day, the gun is only going to be as good as the person behind it. I've actually had an idea for a really budget spray gun review, and I'll be doing that soon for like literally a $20 spray gun, and do a review on that, see how that stacks up to one of these SATAs. Hope you've all enjoyed watching this video, and hopefully you don't take any of my criticism to heart, all of you SATAjet lovers. If you do have any more info to add to this topic, make sure you let us all know in the comment section down below. Now you've seen this video, get out there and paint some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.